which of these two photos do you think I was the most excited to take? The first one or the second one? Which one is me being drawn by instinct to a photo? I call that instinct a photographer's compass. It's something I've been working on for the last 30 odd years. But recently I ran a little experiment. I was in Vienna and I thought, what happens if I actively ignore this compass? Are my photographs going to be any good? And that's what we're going to look at today, how this compass actually works, and more importantly, how you could discover your own compass. How's it? What is this photographer's compass? Well, for me, it's this magnetic pull that I feel towards certain subjects and photographing them in a certain way. Just not because they're amazing photographs, but because they feel right to me. Ultimately, it's the difference between just taking a photograph and making a photograph. And when it's working, it feels awesome. But when it's not quite right, something feels a little bit off about the pictures. I don't know if you've noticed this in your own work, that occasionally you think there's something lacking, but you can't quite put your finger on it. That's when usually I'm ignoring my compass. Ultimately, it's about a connection, about photographing things that interest us. And this concept comes up quite a lot in the TPE community, where we talk about how photography isn't just a set of processes or technical gear and stuff like that, but more of a connection to the things that are around us. And through these conversations, we come to realize that everybody has this compass within them. It's not a trick, it's not a talent that you have to be born with. So what happened in Vienna is a great illustration of how important this compass actually is. So I was lucky enough to be in Vienna a couple of weeks ago with the TPE tribe. We did a little photo walk, went around, it was great. But I had a couple of days beforehand to put into practice this idea. I've seen a lot recently of Stephen Shaw's work. I really love looking at it, and the word looking at it is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. More about that later on. I thought, I'm going to photograph like him. I'm going to spend 2 days in a new city, photographing in an entirely new way. And initially, that felt really cool. Oh, like I'm here, I'm doing some pictures, and I'm kind of wandering around, pretending that I'm Stephen Shaw. The results they're okay. I quite like them. I was fairly excited about some of these photographs. But something interesting starts to happen, especially by the beginning of the second day. I feel like I'm being pulled in two different directions. And you can see this in this little clip. Oh, guten Tag, and all that kind of good stuff. So here I find myself in Vienna, and it's a great place to get started with my odyssey that I'm going to try with this weekend, because I'm here for the photo walk. And that is to give myself some constraints. So I'm going to photograph only at f4.5. So it's aperture priority. Set my camera to auto ISO, so I'm not having to worry about the shutter speeds and the ISO. I'm also putting a restriction of I'm only going to photograph on a 50mm lens. The reason for all of this is because I want to start seeing if I can create the photograph in camera without any fancy effects, to do what I've been talking about with Stephen Shaw, which is really just to photograph the thing itself rather than trying to fancy it up. So here we go. Let's see what I come up with. I'm in trouble. Look what I've spotted. It's my nemesis. It's a car park. And as much as I'm tempted to go in there, today is more about me trying to actually do things I don't normally do. I mean, look at that. It's quite clear that I want to go and photograph the garage because that's where I normally go. But I put all these constraints on me. And I'm going, I have to photograph like this. I have to do this. And it's not working already. Now, it's one thing for me to take some photographs, go, they're not quite right, they're not doing what I want them to do, and make improvements, fix the problem. But it's another thing entirely for me to sit there and go, I'm going to now justify why these pictures are working. And that's the trap that I fell into. Look at me talking now. Hello. Right, so we're back again. I've just been up to Beethoven's apartment block. Just some thoughts while they're in my head now, because no doubt when I get back to sit down, they'll be gone. Up there was quite interesting. Because I think something that's definitely been on the bubble, simmering away the whole of today, came to fruition. It was ideal. It's a combination of that angular sort of approach that I really enjoy, that introspective feel because of the minimalism. And then if it's just an empty room, it doesn't quite have the heft. But fortunately, this lady was there looking out of a window, giving like a little bit of a figure. And I think that really set it off. And because I've been in that mind frame the whole day, working on trying to get the space in the image to feel just right, to photograph, boom, like this without thinking about it, about not worrying about the stupid ass motorbike that's driving down the road in front behind me. It just felt natural, felt effortless. That's all me BSing, right? Just making stuff up. But there's something interesting that happened like not a minute later. Now, there's something I wanted to show you guys because I'm really excited about it. I couldn't find, that's the door to get into the museum, but I couldn't find it because it was closed. So I was walking around this area here. There were two things that I came across, and I found this street here. I thought, that looks really nice, right? But then there was a post right in front of it, which is full of stickers and all sorts of stuff. This chap here. And even there on the frame, you can see, what an awesome photo. Like, this is so cool. Right? It's got a place, it says Rapid Wien on it, so we know kind of where it is. It's got some of the background of buildings. It's a lovely sort of thing. I really dug it. It was like so cool. As I was wandering around the building, I also ended up coming up a little alleyway where it's a traditional Viennese kind of looking thing, and there's like two dustbins right here, which I thought was perfect. Absolutely, your mundanity with a little bit of juxtaposition kind of feel going on with it. And I thought that was awesome. Also, this area has been really, really great for framing shots of me. Fab. Look at this chap. Look how excited he is about the photographs that he's ended up with. And this is because I'm now starting to listen to my compass. Rather than shoehorn ideas into something that don't necessarily fit with me, bang. I'm taking photographs that feel natural, they feel cool, that I'm thrilled about taking. That's why this compass is so important. Now, I mentioned about Stephen Shaw and his photographs and how I love to look at them. I'm going to find out why I should have probably just stuck to looking at them. So how does this compass work? Well, firstly, it gets built up over time. It doesn't just pop into existence. We were in Vienna looking at the work of Anton Corbijn, one of my favorite photographers, and he also just happens to be one of the first people who influenced my compass. So like you take the magnet with the pin, you do the same thing with the photographs. We add in bits that we like to see, and some of that leaches into us. It helps me especially get a feeling for the things that I like. It gives me a place to explore. So over time, I know there are certain subjects that I'm not really interested in photographing. There are certain approaches that feel natural to me. That's that instinct kicking around because I've built up a library in my head of photographs that excite me. So naturally, I'm going to photograph the things out in the world that are similar, that excite me. And that's where Stephen Shaw's problem. I do like his photographs, but quite frankly, having taken pictures of lots of dustbins that weekend and stuff like that, no, that's not for me. Please don't misunderstand me. It's not that I don't like Stephen Shaw. I love his work, but taking pictures of the stuff that he takes, no, that's wrong. And that was a mistake. I wasn't trying to feed my influences like I have with Corbijn and other people like that. I was trying to be Stephen Shaw. And there's a huge, huge difference in that. Now we need to get your photographic compass up and running. So it points in the direction that's going to give you awesome photographs. Now, in the TP community, we often talk about when things feel a little bit off, and other people can make suggestions about photographs that they could try looking at to get some inspiration, rather than telling them what's wrong with the photograph. And this is an important point. The whole concept of photographer's compass isn't to find technically amazing photographs or, pictures going to win awards. It's to find photographs that feel like me, that feel like you. So the best way to build up this compass is A, to actually just kind of listen to it, to know when you're trying to shoehorn something into your work that doesn't really want to be there, but also to just go with the flow. One of the things we talked about on that weekend, walking around with all the chaps in the rain, getting soaked, hanging out at the Leica store, was just photographing what feels natural. And by the end of the weekend, it was great to see how many people were in that flow. They were finding things were exciting because other people had been able to give them a little bit of direction. Think about the photographer's work that you like, the images that stick in your head, the concepts, the ideas that feel natural to you. All of these are part and parcel of this compass. You need to bring them in. We're going to have so much more luck with our photographs if we just approach it in a way that isn't bound up in like technical rules or you must do this and you must do that. Everybody's compass feels different. Mine's going to be very different to yours. I can't tell you specifically how to make your compass work because you might have different approaches. But I do hope that, like some advice that I got when I was in Vienna, strangely enough, I got an email from a chap whose opinion I deeply respect. And he said, the Stephen Shaw stuff, not so much. But you should always have a photograph that has something interesting in it. And that's the biggest lesson, right? For me, all that Stephen Shaw stuff, I love looking at it, but the subjects and the way I was photographing, not interesting one iota. Go out there, find things that are interesting for you and photograph them in a way that excites you. Now, I asked people to go and upload some of their Stephen Shaw-esque images, and I've done a little video about what you uploaded. If you're interested, go check it out. Thanks ever so much for watching. I will see you again soon.